Good morning, Jet fans. How we doing on this Monday? I'm doing pretty damn good because my general manager is still employed. Ignore all the rumors that you hear out there, especially from the lazy-ass clickbait blogs that want them to be true, that have their supposed inside sources that are telling them garbage, that there's a rift with Maccagnan and Adam Gase. Listen, Connor Hughes has already shot it down. Manish Mehta has already shot it down. I don't know why we're talking about this. I don't know why people would want this to even happen, but surprisingly enough, there are people that are rooting for this to be going on, that are rooting for dysfunction to take place within the organization, that want something going on like what the Knicks had, where Phil Jackson drafted Frank Ntilikina and then he was fired like a week later. Is that what we really want? We want to have our general manager spend $100 million, actually land impact players, and then we're going to say, you know what? Second thought, actually, we're going to fire you. But not before you make our third overall draft pick, because that makes plenty of sense for how to build a team. And let's also go back for a second. Adam Gase's introductory press conference, he said he didn't want anything to do with personnel decisions, right? He had at least some say with that in Miami, and he didn't want that here. And he even doubled down on it when he went on the Michael Kay show the day after. So it would be very odd for Adam Gase to say all that stuff in his intro presser after getting hired in part by Mike Maccagnan, to then only 2 months later go back on everything he said and now pull a power play to try and get Mike Maccagnan fired because he wants more power. That doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. Maybe, just maybe, and follow me for a second here, the people that have pushed the fire Mike Maccagnan agenda for 2 years, pumping out misleading stats about, his mid-round draft picks and how bad they've been, and, the team record in spite of the fact that they've been rebuilding. Maybe, just maybe, the people that have been pumping all this information out want a story like this to run with. And they want to believe a story like this is true. Kind of adds up, doesn't it? When you've been pushing it to your followers for about 2 years and none of it's true, well, I'm sorry, you're going to take something like this, you're going to run with it, you're going to say, yeah, of course, I've got sources that are saying the same thing. No, you don't. You ain't got shit. Anyone that's believing this story, I don't know what to say. And if it does happen to be true, I'll eat my words, but if it does happen to be true, this would be the ultimate sign of incompetence for the Jets organization. Okay? This would be the ultimate sign of incompetence. If the Jets actually let Mike Maccagnan go through this entire offseason and then were to part ways with him, what kind of sense would that make? That's why I'm not buying it. I don't buy it one bit. I'm happy with the job Mike Maccagnan has done. We all wanted to see him execute this offseason and find big-time elite playmakers. He got that with Bell. He got that with C.J. Mosley. I like the Osemele trade. I like the Crowder move, even some of the smaller moves like Brian Poole. I'm happy with the job Maccagnan has done. You look at the draft, he went best player available in Quinnen Williams, paired a stud with Leonard Williams up the middle, interior pressure all day long in Brady's face. Jachai Polite, third-round pick. You could say all you want about some of the immaturity issues. Possibly one of the top edge rushers in this class. They had him rated right there with Josh Allen. To get a guy like that in the third round, a first-round talent who just turned 21 years old, you're going to hope like hell that Jamal Adams can get in his ear, that Greg Williams can get in his ear, and that they could turn this kid around, get the maximum potential out of him, and have him as your true edge rusher. And to get that in the third round, that's huge value. That's huge, huge value. Beyond that, you start looking at some of the other picks, and the tackle, Edoga, I think he's got plenty of potential. He's got quick feet. I could definitely see him being a starter down the line. I don't know if I see it anytime soon, though. I think he's definitely going to need a year at least on the bench to kind of develop, which is fine because you don't need him to be a starter right now. So I don't see any issue at all with that. After that, though, looking at day 3, I think that's where most people started to have some issues with the way Maccagnan drafted, or not necessarily with the way he drafted, but maybe getting a little bit too cute, trading down instead of maybe taking a guy like Michael Jordan or a Riley Ridley, somebody like that, a center, an impact corner like Julian Love. There were a couple options where he might have been able to get more of an immediate impact player instead of moving down, trying to acquire some extra picks. But Trayvon Wesco, man, you try not to get too excited just by listening to Brian Baldinger, but you watch his breakdown when he talks about him, and how he can be moved around, how he's going to open up Adam Gase's playbook, how he could be used as a flex tight end, an H-back, wide receiver, a blocking tight end. I mean, the fullback, the guy is ridiculously versatile. He's an incredible blocker. He's got room to grow as a pass catcher. He's tough as nails. So I don't mind that pick in the 4th round. They said on the broadcast that teams were throwing shit in their war rooms because the Jets took him. So I don't think that's a terrible pick at all. They definitely do need a second tight end option to pair with Chris Herndon. You bring in a guy like Wesco, he's going to compete with Leggett and Sterling and hopefully kick Eric Tomlinson out of here. So I don't have any issue with that. He's going to see the field his first year, you would think. So again, I don't have an issue with it, mainly because of that. It's not like, you're taking this pick as an investment, for 2 years down the line. No, you're saying this is a guy that's going to open up our playbook. He's going to help Darnold now. He's going to help Gase now. So you deal with it. So once you start getting to this part of the draft, as much as we want need, right, or at least as fans, we want a center, we want, a corner or whatever position it might be. We know Mike Maccagnan, he's going to stick with best player available. I don't think it's a terrible strategy at this point in the round. You stick with your board, you stick with what you've done over the last, year or two, based on scouting, based on where you think these players should be, and you try your best to take the best player available. Because in 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, you don't know what your team's going to look like. You don't know what your roster is going to look like. Maybe Avery Williamson isn't a Jet anymore, and 5th round pick Blake Cashman is your starting inside linebacker. You just never know how the team's going to shake out. So you always want to try and pick not just the best player, but guys that, could fit on special teams, that could fill depth roles, things like that. So I know we always want the diamond in the rough. We always want the immediate starter right away in the 5th and 6th round. I just think fans have an unrealistic expectation of what they expect or what should happen in rounds 5 and 6. I don't know if it's just something against Maccagnan or whatever it is. I don't know. But for whatever reason, 5th and 6th round draft pick expectations have just been through the roof for Jet fans. If they're not a starter day one of their first year, get rid of them. It just seems like a ridiculous line of thinking to think that way about mid-round picks. But we know the pressure's on Maccagnan. He's got to at least find a couple. I think everything is riding on Polite for him in this draft because we know Quinnen Williams is going to be a stud. He was the consensus best player in the draft for a reason. I don't see any reason to doubt what he could do. But Polite definitely had a couple red flags. And so if he ends up being what you thought he would be, and you're getting a stud in the 1st round and a stud in the 3rd round, you walked away from this draft pretty well. Regardless of what Edoga or Wesco might do, if you get those 2 studs as an interior pass rusher and an edge rusher, you're walking away from the draft looking pretty good. So I'm happy with that, and I'm even more happy that my general manager is still employed. Forget all the nonsense that's out there. Enjoy the offseason. It's been a fun one. I'm more excited to see the product actually get on the field. I'm more excited to actually see these players and these draft picks get on the field and see what they can do. It's a fun time. So if your coverage outlet is out there pumping, fake news, trying to generate clicks and negative headlines, I don't know why. I don't know what there is to be negative about right now. The 2 things I guess you could point to: the lack of a center right now, and I think that's going to be Jonathan Harrison, so I'm not too concerned about that. And then the other spot would be wide receiver. I think they could use maybe another wide out, or if you want to look at just the draft in general, I thought they could have used a receiver from this draft because it was a pretty deep class. It was a talented class. I would have liked them to have been able to use one of their mid-round picks on a wide receiver, but it was hard. Especially when you can't really find a partner to trade down. And I guess that's the other thing I'll end with. I think there was reports today from Manish that, of course, the Jets tried unsuccessfully to move into round 2, whether it was trading back in round 1 from 3 down into late or early teens or something like that, or if it was moving up from round 3. They did want to get a 2nd round pick. They tried hard. But of course, they didn't get it done. So naturally, what's this going to turn into? This is going to turn into more talk about how Maccagnan can't close. The Jets lead the league in almost deals. And I'm just like, dude, every single team around the league was on the phones trying to make trades. Every single team around the league wanted to make a deal that probably didn't get done. Every single team around the league has contacted an agent, tried to sign a free agent that didn't work out. But for whatever reason, whenever Manish brings up one of these stories to the media, it becomes, or to the fans, it becomes, oh, well, here's Mike Maccagnan again. He can't close. It's not like he just closed on Le'Veon Bell. It's not like he just closed on C.J. Mosley. It's not like he just closed on a trade with the Colts that landed our franchise quarterback. So shut the hell up. Enjoy this offseason. We're a few months away from training camp. I can't wait. Let's get it. The team is looking up. I'm excited. Save the Fire Mac headlines. Go Jets.